Peace. Good morning, family. How you doing? It's Mr. R2 here at Consistency is Currency, your morning podcast of choice. So, transparent moment. So, I have to be transparent now. Some of y'all might have caught it yesterday, but I didn't catch it until I began to listen to the replay and what I did and how I said it and how I opened yesterday. So, I made a mistake and I said, Peace, family. How you doing? It's Mr. RQ here at Consistency is Key. Yes, I messed it up yesterday. But that's just my transparent moment. I know I said it, but I didn't pay attention to me saying it until after the podcast was over. So I am going to redo it. I wish I could redo it yesterday, but today I'm going to redo it just to make sure that it gets embedded inside of your brain on what this podcast is. This is consistency is currency. I don't know why I had to look down like I didn't know. Consistency is currency. The things that you do, that you develop, that becomes a consistent process in your life can actually begin to grow and to develop the what's next for the things that you want to do. That's what consistency is currency is about, to give you a new way of looking at things, to develop a system inside of your mindset, and to develop new processes all at the same time. So I will start by saying good morning to you. If I can see you, that means you have life. If you can see me, that means you have life as well. So we are at a juncture of the interaction or the exchange of life's blessings. I you're here to see me and I'm here to see you. So we are at an exchange of life. So good morning to you. I thank you for being here, everybody that's watching from the Facebook perspective, from the YouTube perspective, and those that listen to the podcast from a podcast platform. My thanks go out to you. And I don't know, I haven't done it in a while. So let me go ahead and do the podcast shout out for those who are our international listeners. So because I haven't done it in a while, I'm going to shout you out today and tell you thank you, and I appreciate you always and a day. So India, we appreciate you for listening. Italy, Germany, Puerto Rico, Nigeria, United Kingdom, thank you. Canada, thank you. South Korea, thank you. Indonesia, Singapore, South Africa, Russia, Pakistan, Australia, Algeria, Kenya, Morocco, thank you. Mexico, thank you. New Zealand, thank you. Ireland, Turkey, Netherlands, Slovenia, Namibia, Dominican Republic, Austria, France. I think that's a new one. Oh, we got a new one. U.S. Virgin Islands. So for all my international family out there, we thank you and appreciate you for just listening to the podcast. Right now, the highest listening rate is coming from Facebook Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. So for all my listeners on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, they're even listening on the web browser. So shouts out to Facebook, Apple Podcast listeners, as well as Spotify listeners. We thank you for listening to the platform. And today is something that is going to hit different because it's a very interesting subject that we're talking about. As you can see right here. As you can see right here, it's inside the Acorn. So before we get into it, make sure you go ahead and share this live. Put it in the Facebook group, or just share it on your timeline, whichever one you find comfortable for yourself to do. Just go ahead and share it. So inside the Acorn, it really hit different for me because I began to look at the Acorn from a different light. Let me pull it up. So I began to look at the Acorn from a different light, and I think when I begin to continue the lesson to talk about inside the Acorn, you're going to look at the Acorn from a different perspective, and you're going to begin to also look at the Acorn as you inside the Acorn. So if you're watching, go ahead and put Acorn inside the chat, because this is going to open your mind to look deep within inside of you, because the way the Acorn is the same way that you can be. And as you begin to develop and process things, you're going to say, okay, the acorn. You're going to have an acorn moment. So go ahead and put acorn inside of your chat. So, all right, so let's go ahead and start with it inside the acorn. So this one is a little bit different as far as definition goes, because there wasn't really a true definition of acorn, but there was messaging in there's messages that I found in the description of the acorn that really began to hit home. So now, what is an acorn, Mr. R2? It said acorns are the fruit of the oak tree. They contain the seeds that grow new oak trees, and falling to the ground is a part of the tree's life cycle. This is how it reproduced. Having reached the ground, the acorn can grow into new oak trees or be carried off to new locations by wildlife. In the acorn. So let's go ahead and take this deep dive in the acorn. So if in the acorn, it is the fruit of the oak tree. So therefore, if you can tell a tree by the fruit that it bears, so therefore that is the acorn. What type of fruit are you bearing in your life? I'm sure you've heard that term. You can tell a tree by the fruit that it bears. Like, I know it's you because I see the fruit that you bear, or I know that this person is an athlete because I can see the way this person actually produce what athletes actually do. I can tell by sight that's what you do. So if the acorn is the fruit of the oak tree, then you know it by sight. And then it goes to, let me go back real quick. Then it goes to say they contain the seeds that can grow new oak trees. So that's telling you that you, as an acorn, you can actually grow because you have the same opportunity as everyone else. The acorn can actually grow into an oak tree, which actually can grow as more oak trees surround that particular tree that's growing, then it becomes a forest. So as many ideas that you come up with, as many visions that you have, as many dreams that you have, as many people that you may surround yourself with that understand the like items or the like mission and the like purpose that y'all have, you have the ability to grow into that forest of community of people that you surround yourself with. And then when it says falling to the ground is a part of the tree's life cycle. So what is that saying? Falling to the ground is a part of the process of learning. Falling to the ground is a part of the process of development. Falling to the ground then becomes the process that you know that is going to happen. It is still within the fabric of success because failure was a part of you learning what not to do next time. Success is just you not committing yourself to failure. That means you got it right one more time. You got back up one more time. And it also says this is how the tree reproduces. So that means consistency is a part of the process of the acorn. Consistency is a part of the process of the life cycle of the oak tree. Because if you want to reproduce the same outcome that you did, then you're going to have to begin to plant those proper seeds in order for you to get that type of outcome over and over again. In order for you to reproduce that same type of success over and over again, you have to plant the same seed. Or if you're reproducing that type of child that you want to be cultivated and to learn many things, you can reproduce that thing because now you're exposing your child to the things that you was not exposed to when you came up. But then it says, having reached the ground, having you reached the point of success, the acorn can grow into new oak trees. Having you reach the point of success, having you reach the end of what failure was for you, you can grow again because you've reached the point that I got this. I can do this. That's the deep dive we're going into. And now let's jump into inside the acorn. This oak tree, as you see, yes, animated, is waving, but as the wind blows, the oak tree is grounded. It's rooted in success. It's rooted in the commitment that it has to continue to grow. And even acorns may fall, it has the ability to then understand that that process is just a part of the cycle. And getting to that point is where we're about to do. So now the first thing that I want you to understand, the acorn that's inside of you is the talents and the gifts. So if you're going to grow, you're going to have to understand that there is a discovery that you're going to have to become a part of. Because remember, it said, now as I mean, as it, I'm going to say, let me make sure I go back. I want to make sure I say it right. It says, having reached the ground. So now let's go back to the talents, discovering your talents. Having reached your talents, becoming yourself, or bringing yourself out, or discovering your talents. Having reached the ground, you can then begin to nurture those talents and to nurture those gifts. Because if it's, you can tell a tree by the fruit that it bears, that means part of becoming an oak tree, in a sense, is reaching a degree of independency, reaching a degree of learning. Because if you're going to grow to new heights of like an oak tree, that means that you're going to have to discover the inner parts of you that is going to begin to grow into the tree itself. And that's a part of that process. And then you're going to begin to learn that and recognize that your life is unique. That every oak tree is unique. Every acorn is unique. There are thousands of acorns on that particular tree of the oak tree, but as they fall, all of them is different. So you can't go and want this person's blessing because you don't know what that person went through to get it. Every acorn is unique. Your life is unique. Since no two people can ever follow the exact same life path, you have to understand that the development that you're going to go through is uniquely tapped into you and your oak seed, your acorn. So harness those gifts, harness those talents, and recognize that you are unique. And knowing that you are unique, you're going to have to understand that this process is a process that I have to go through in order for me to get to where I am about to go. And not being afraid to get to that point is me not being afraid to start. Just think about how many acorns are on that tree and how many acorns hit the ground. Now, like it said in the definition of acorn, some of them may get picked up by wildlife and put into a whole nother location. And not every acorn that falls is actually going to produce itself into an oak tree, because that acorn might get eaten. So because life is so unique to you, and because the seeds that you plant is so unique to you, then focus on you. Stop focusing on other people's gardens. Stop focusing on other people's acorn. Like, man, I'm looking over there like, man, how did your acorn grow so high? I want to grow like that. Now, you can look at it and say, you know what? That's nice. I'm proud of you. I'm glad your acorn is growing. But let me cultivate my seeds over here. Let me make sure I got my life in order. Let me make sure that I'm putting in the proper amount of work. I'm going to make sure I put in the proper amount of light. Let me make sure I'm cultivating the things that I know that's needed in order for my tree to grow. But sometimes we're so busy looking at other people's oak tree that our tree is not growing. We didn't recognize that we had this little lump because we're looking at somebody else's oak tree. Your life is unique to you. And begin to learn and know that you have to cultivate your own growth and develop that. And as you begin to cultivate your own growth, you have to be committed to the mastery. You have to, because if not, then why did you start? Why did you start if you're not going to be committed to it? Because you're not going to reach that outcome that you want, because you wasn't committed to the entire process. Because it says that the oak tree, it says that the acorn falling to the ground is a part of its life cycle. So that means the things that you are working on, the things that you are working for, and the things that you are working towards, you have to be committed that this is just a part of the process. It's not always going to, I start on Monday, I have $50,000 on Saturday. The way you started your business is not going to be the same way or the same outcome as someone else who started the same type of business. But are you committed to the process of learning? Are you committed to the mastery of developing those talents that you have and committing those talents into your business, or committing those talents into that process? Because that is how you're going to get to where you're going, only if you're committed and you're determined to learn more about you and how do you get yourself there. And when you get there, there is a cultivation of success characters that you have to have. Because to start cultivating success characters, it can actually lead into the results that you want. That's that growth mindset. Have you cultivated your growth mindset? Have you cultivated the opportunities? Have you cultivated the level of resiliency that you have to have? Because remember, if falling to the ground for an acorn is the process of growing into a tree, then you have to be resilient enough in the fall. You have to be resilient even after the fall to say, if I want to get to where I'm going, I have to understand that tomorrow might not be as good as today. But when I get to tomorrow and it's not as good as today, I remember what today was, and I can learn from what I'm doing right now to cultivate that mastery, to cultivate the success characters of my resiliency, to say, I got it. I can bounce back. I've seen this before. This is just a part of the process. I'm not afraid. I'm not nervous about what you say. Why? Because this is just a part of my process. Me falling and bumping my head is a part of my process. Me failing this exam is a part of my process. I can go back and take this test over again. It's a part of my process. Because when I get to succeeding, now I have the story to tell, because I'm resilient enough to go back and do it again and develop those lifelong learning systems and be committed to the decisions that you make. Because if there is a lack of commitment in the decisions that you make, then you're going to be easily pushed to the side. And it's easy for you to say, I'm done, I quit. Because you was never committed in the first place. And when you're developing those things, you have to be willing to do what others are not willing to do. Because if the acorn that falls is picked up by a bird and the bird travels and the acorn falls, the acorn is now growing in a new location. It's still an acorn. It still have the same possibilities. It still have the same opportunities, but you have to be willing to be okay with where you are, to start from where you are, to start from that point. Be willing to do what other people are not willing to do. They say going the extra mile can be lonely because not everybody is willing to go there. And you don't have to wait for somebody to go the extra mile with you just to say that we did it. Nobody cares about you if you did it because they might be dealing with their own struggles. So the extra mile should be traveled by you and not you waiting on somebody else to see if they're going to go with you. And you have to be willing to understand that, to look at those challenges, those setbacks, those failures, and the opportunity for them is giving you the opportunity to grow stronger in life. And the last thing I want you to understand, I'm going to drop this little bonus. Inside your acorn is your potential. Inside of your acorn is your potential. And when I began to look at acorns, an acorn is not big, right? So if you look at this small acorn and you examine it and you start to understand that my potential lies within this seed, my growth process lies within this seed, my development lies within this seed, my love lies within this seed, my gifts lies within this seed, my talents lies within this seed, my process lies within this seed. Then you can understand that why it's important for you to keep going, why it's important for you to stay committed to the process, why it's important for you to be a lifelong learner, why it's important for you to understand that you may have to go through a course correction. Because remember, a part of the acorn is you might not develop in this setting. You may get picked up and thrown 5 miles to the left or 20 miles to the right, but you still have the same opportunity as that same seed that fell to the bottom of that oak tree that it originated from. It may take you 5 years to get it, but you still have the same opportunity as that original seed that fell from that original tree. You just found yourself in a different location, but the same potential in the acorn is the same. So stop crying about where you are. Stop worrying about the placement and where you are, because inside of your acorn is the same as inside of my acorn, but what we do with it is different. Because what I do with my acorn is going to be different from you, because I understand the process. I understand that falling from the oak tree on the ground is a part of the process. I understand that location may be a part of the process. The change of location may be a part of the process. The development that's going on may be a part of the process. That the talent that you have and the gift that you have is a part of learning the process. So where is your acorn today? What are you doing with the seed that you're planting today? What are you doing with your natural seeds, your children? What type of acorn are you developing? They all have the ability to grow into an oak tree, but the oak tree only grows as strong as it can when it is cultivated properly. Are you willing to do what others are not willing to do to ultimately come out with what you want? If not, don't even start, because you're wasting your gifts, you're wasting your talents, and you're inefficiently using the time that you're given on this earth. Everyone is giving the same 24 hours of the day. But what are you doing within the timeline that you're given? What are you doing with the oak tree that you have the ability to grow into? That's inside the acorn. That's inside your natural abilities. That's what's inside of your gifts. That's what's inside of your mind. That's what's inside of learning. That's what's inside of your wisdom. That's what's inside of your knowledge. But what are you doing when you plant that seed? Because after the seed is planted, that does not mean that it's over. after you have fell from that tree, that does not mean that it's over. That means there are new developments that you're going to have to go through in order for you to get to the process of even sprouting the embryo out of the acorn to begin the process of vertically growing up. I'm done. I'm going to leave y'all alone. Inside the acorn, you're either going to like it or love it. But it has no respect of person, because we all have the ability to grow. But are you doing what is required of you to grow? If not, just know that it's a part of your process. You have the ability to find it, but once you find it, the responsibility is yours, and it's up to you to do something about it. All right. Today is Friday. I'll see you guys on Monday, 7:30, right here at Consistency is Currency. Y'all be blessed and enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Peace.